Hey, welcome to Learning Labs. Today we're in Chapter 5 in Body Systems. We're talking about the respiratory system. Check it out. Let's jump right in. What is the respiratory system all about? Well, it first collects oxygen and gets rid of carbon dioxide produced in the body. What does it consist of? Well, we got 2 lungs, we got tubes, we got muscles, we got a couple bones in there that act like a pump. All right? So the amazing lungs. Wow. What do they do? How does it work? Well, it has a muscle in there, okay? It's called a diaphragm. You'll see it in a bit. It's a large dome-like sheet that sits right here above your stomach, below your heart, below the lungs. And this guy is responsible for moving the lungs so that air can be pushed out or breathed. Diaphragm, as you breathe in, it moves down, okay? And the ribs move up to expand. So the ribs go up and diaphragm goes down. It opens the lungs. Anytime you open a space on Earth, air or something needs to fill it. As you open your space to breathe in, air flows in to fill that space, just like water, okay? Because you're creating an empty vacuum of space that needs to be filled. As you breathe out, the diaphragm pushes up and closes the thoracic cavity, closing it, and the ribs come down and it pushes the air out, creating less space for the air. The higher pressure inside, so as you close that space, the pressure increases, and the pressure is higher now inside your thoracic cavity, and the pressure outside is a lot lower, so the air will always flow to the lower pressure to even out the pressure. All right, so it then leaves the body. A little bit of physics in there for you. All right, the bones of the rib cage protect the thoracic cavity. Since your lungs are so expensive, so valuable, the body has to protect it. How does it do it? It's got a huge metal cage here, not metal bones, to protect it. So you get hit here, your bones are there to protect the cage, or protect the lungs. The cavity is also flexible, so it can change shape and size, making it breathing possible. Check out.
The function of the respiratory system is to transport air into the lungs and to diffuse oxygen into the bloodstream and carbon dioxide out. It is separated into the upper and lower respiratory tracts. Air enters the upper respiratory tract through the mouth or nose and nasal cavity, where it is filtered, warmed and moistened. Next, it passes into the pharynx and then into the larynx, which is known as the voice box. From here, the air passes down into the trachea, also known as the windpipe. The inner membrane of the trachea is covered in tiny hair cells called cilia, which catch particles of dust which are removed through coughing. The trachea is surrounded by 15 to 20 C-shaped rings of cartilage at the front and side, which help protect it and keep it open. The trachea divides into 2 smaller tubes called bronchi, which pass air into the left and right lungs. Once inside the lung, the bronchi split several ways, forming tertiary bronchi. These continue to divide, forming bronchioles, which are narrow tubes less than 1 millimeter in diameter. Eventually, air enters alveolar sacs and alveoli, where gaseous exchange takes place.
All right, let's talk about breathing a little bit more. So while you're exercising, you often breathe through your mouth because you can draw in air more quickly this way than through your nose. Otherwise, you're probably sitting in class right now taking notes, you're breathing through your nose, okay? Why would you breathe through the nose if you can get more air efficiently through your mouth? Get more air per second, right? Well, it's all because of how we adapted our nasal cavity, okay? Starts with your nose, goes all the way through your head, to the side, and all the way down, okay? Your nasal cavity is this huge air filter sequence type deal. So your nasal cavity filters out dirt, dust, pollen, bacteria, and other tiny particles by capturing them in a sticky layer called mucus. Okay, you ever felt some nasty stuff in your throat? You're like, ah, you spat out like that. That's mucus, right? That stuff is capturing all that nasty dirt, dust, and stuff, and you spit it out as a good thing. It also moistens the air to prevent the delicate lining of your alveoli, which is the exchange part of oxygen and blood and carbon dioxide, all right, from dying out. Because if it dries out, it's no longer good. It warms up the air as it enters the body, so it's at a good temperature. So if you breathe through your mouth, you skip all of that. You skip the most important part, which is filtering it out. So it's very important to breathe through your nose most of the time, unless you're exercising, of course. The final destination, the alveoli. These are the final little tiny organs. These are the magic men, right? Each of the smallest bronchioles dead ends into a cluster of small balloon-like hollow sacs, like you see here. Okay, these hollow sacs are called alveoli. They have thin layers, thin walls, and are surrounded by blood capillaries, and they allow the gas exchange here. So check it out. Here's your lungs. Zooming in, we have our alveoli at the end of all the bronchi and the bronchioles, right? And then zooming in even more, you see the air and you see the oxygen and blood allowing the exchange happening. So the walls here are super thin that allow it to diffuse right through. I think that's the end of chapter 5, all about the respiratory system. Make sure to check out the worksheet below to practice your skills on the respiratory system.